Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own 808s or bass using the plugin SubLab. So this way, if you're tired of relying on using samples and struggling through a bunch of presets and you finally want to have a sense of control over your bass and your 808s, well, this is a great, very simple way to start designing them yourself. It's easy to understand and you're going to understand the sound design principles behind it, and you're just going to get better results in the long term. So let's dive right in. So I'm using SubLab by Future Audio Workshop. This is a fantastic tool, and it only cost me like 40 bucks. So I'm not promoting it, but I ended up buying it just because I like it. And I realized that, hey, for 40 bucks to get your bass handled for the rest of your life, it's a pretty sweet deal. So anyways, let's see how we can use this to create our own bass or 808 sound. So as you can see here, when you pull it up, it's just a default oscillator tone. So the first thing we're going to look at is the oscillators over here. You have 4 options between sine wave, triangle, saw, and square. So obviously each one becomes progressively more distorted. So for an 808 or a bass, usually it's going to be a sine wave, which is like the soft, round sound. So that's going to be our sine wave, right? And so what we want to do right off the bat is actually go down about 2 octaves. So we are in the range of the bass. So that's just a simple sine wave. Nothing else has been done. So now, the next thing we're going to do is take a look at the parameters here on the volume. So for an 808, I want it to be punchy, right? So we're going to take this release time and actually shorten it to like 1 second so that I can just kind of hit the note, let go, and it quickly decays. We're not going to worry about the filter parameter because we're not really going to be affecting the filter of our 808. It's really unnecessary. So we're really only concerned with the release time of our volume. And also the pitch envelope. This is a really cool tool. What this does is it kind of adds a little bit of punch so your 808s hit hard. So check this out. I'm going to put it at 100% so you can hear the effect. So by default setting, it's already just adding it for you. All you have to do is dial it back. So we're going to put it back to 20% here, and it adds that nice little punch right off the bat. And without it, so you can hear a drastic difference. Let's put it back here. So cool. Next thing we can do is we can layer our bass with a kick so that it hits hard. So that's going to be in our sampler parameter. And this allows you to basically drop any kind of sample pretty much for kicks. You want to be dropping kick samples in here. So let's pick one of the kick samples that already comes here. Let's just pick something cool. This is our kick sample. So I'm going to mute the oscillator for now. So we'll go down here and we're going to click that to turn it off. And this is our sampler parameter here. We're going to actually bring this up. So now we can hear just the kick that we're using. So that's our kick drum. And all we're going to do is we're going to layer this in with our oscillator so that the kick is adding punch to the 808. So we want to kind of blend it in there. So I'm actually going to use the high cut to kind of muffle the kick up a little bit. I'll just pull it down around like 2K is fine, maybe 1K, and we'll cut out a little bit of the lows as well, just so it doesn't clash with the bass. Let's pull it down even more. And we'll just drag this back so we don't have much tail from the kick. We just want the initial transient for the sake of adding punch. So there you go. So this is without the kick, and this is with the kick. So now we have a kick sample blended in there. We can actually pull this down if we want to make it subtle. So these parameters here, they control the volume of these. They correspond to each other. So we have the synth parameter, which corresponds to the green bar here, the sampler parameter, which corresponds to the orange one here, and then finally we have the X sub parameter. This is basically just going to add harmonics to your 808 so that it cuts through speakers, so that it cuts through even phone speakers. So this is just adding harmonics, and also it adds subharmonics so that when you're in the car, it bumps, it's really deep and bassy. So we also want to bring this parameter up. Let's bring it up. And it's not something that you're really going to hear unless you listen really closely or like you're in a car or stuff like that. So let's see if we can actually hear the difference here. So yeah, like you don't really even hear it, but when you take it to the car, you're definitely going to feel that the sub is a lot more impactful because of this. So all I'm going to do here is just kind of dial it back a little bit because it does quite a lot. I'm just pulling this down, and I'll just pull this down here. So we're just adding some harmonics. You don't have to overthink this. Don't complicate it. Just literally pull this thing up. So cool, that's what this parameter does. Down here you see the filter, right? This corresponds to the filter envelope up here. And so it's only going to be active if we turn this up to 100%. Now I'm not going to use a filter. I don't want to filter my 808s. If I want to EQ it separately, I can do that. So I never really use this. I wouldn't worry about it. But if down here you can see the glide. And this allows us to create that legato sound when we switch notes. So notice how the notes glide into each other. We can change the timing of it, or we can just kind of turn it off, just like that. We can just click it to turn it off. We can change the timing of the glide. I like to leave it at the default, which is 16th note. This makes it really easy to create those awesome 808 glides that sound amazing on records. So I just leave that there. Just leave it default. That's pretty much everything for this side. Now let's come over to the right-hand side. We're going to start adding distortion. This is really where things get amazing because now we're going to make our 808s hit hard. They're going to cut through all the speakers thanks to some distortion. So I just turned it on. We have to make sure that we set this to 100% so that we actually hear it in effect. So already drastically different. Let's say I'm kind of feeling like something really, really gritty. Let's try this. Oh, I like that a lot. That's cool. Let's see what happens if we change the waveform. Cool, so I really like this distortion. It's just one of the options here. And we can control the drive. But what I'm going to do is actually cut out some of the high end. So I'm going to pull this high cut down to around like 2K. Same thing with the low cut. Just going to bring this up to like 30 hertz. We don't really need anything below 30 hertz for our 808. Just do that. Nice, that already sounds really good. It's going to cut through the mix really well. Let's turn it off so you hear the difference without it. And now with it. This is really all the difference. The key to really getting your bass to cut through the mix is this distortion right here. This plugin makes it so easy to just do all of these things in sequence. Very, very friendly layout, easy to understand. It's not some complicated thing. And then finally, we'll add some compression here. So let's just pull our threshold down a little bit to like, I don't know, -3 or something. Also, we got to put this up at 100% so it's actually active. I might make the release time faster. I usually like to do this so that it kind of pumps. Let's pull the threshold down even more. Very subtle. Let's turn it off. And back on. It just kind of makes it a little tighter. a little bit more consistent. So it's really cool. If I hold the note, it'll sustain. This is also awesome because sometimes maybe you have an 808 sample and it's not really sustained long enough and you're kind of limited. With this, it's all on your MIDI. If you want to hold the notes, you can keep them sustained as long as you want. If you want it quick and jabby, you just play it just like that, a quick jab. So it really gives you a lot of control and flexibility, which I love. So yeah, that's basically it. And finally up here we have a limiter. If you want to add a limiter to your bass, you can also do that. And that's basically it. That's how we create an 808 from scratch. You can do this with sub bass. You can make awesome 808s for a variety of genres. Very easy, simple layout. Helps you kind of understand the sound design process behind it. It's really not intimidating as you would think. I was honestly really intimidated before I started learning how to do this. This plugin made it so much easier for me. So I'm very, very grateful. I can make my own bass sounds now, my own 808s. It's very easy to do it. I love how they sound. And then now, yeah, it just gives you more control. So, and then yeah, when you're done, you can basically save it. You can give it a name, my 808, and it'll save, and you can start building your own little custom pack of 808s or bass sounds, and you can always reload them for next time. So that's basically it. That's how you do it. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to click the link in the description, and you and I can talk one-on-one to see how we can help you level up your production skills. I do offer one-on-one guidance if you feel like you want more personalized help. So don't hesitate to reach out. And until the next video.